As a homeless man, I won $100,000 in 90 seconds. But before that, they were laughing and mocking me. Like I said, I'm a homeless man and I sleep under bridges every night. I wear torn clothes and old shoes that barely fit my feet. When people see me on the street, they immediately look the other way. But that day on Highway 101, a $3 million Bugatti broke down right in front of me. The owner was panicking, and the mechanic who arrived couldn't fix the car. After watching from a distance for a while, I walked over and told them I could help. The owner laughed at me and mockingly said if I fixed the car, I could get $10,000. I looked at that massive engine and said, I want $100,000 instead. Those mocking looks turned serious, and the owner said, okay, and opened the hood saying, show me what you got. My $100,000 was sitting right there.
Who was I before the streets destroyed me? What did I know that they didn't see? Why was I so confident in this impossible task? Sit back and continue listening to the lesson I taught them. The man standing in front of me was about 40 years old. He wore a custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than most people earn in a year. His watch caught the sunlight, and I recognized it immediately. Patek Philippe. His shoes were Italian leather and polished to perfection. Everything about him screamed wealth and success. His mechanic stood beside him looking frustrated and defeated. The mechanic had expensive tools spread across the highway shoulder. Diagnostic equipment blinked with error codes. The man had tried everything and failed completely. I stepped closer to the open hood. The engine was a masterpiece of engineering. 16 cylinders arranged in a W configuration, quad turbochargers, over 500 horsepower sitting there, silent and broken. The owner watched me with arms crossed and that mocking smile still on his face. I ignored him completely. I leaned in and listened first. That's what most people forget. An engine talks to you if you know how to listen. I touched the intake manifold gently. It was still warm but not hot. The car hadn't been running long before it died. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory from years ago, years before the streets, years before everything fell apart. I checked the fuel lines first. No leaks, no cracks. Pressure seemed normal. I moved to the electrical system next. The mechanic spoke up. His voice was sharp and defensive. I already checked everything, he said. Fuel system is fine. Electrical is fine. Computer diagnostics show nothing wrong. I didn't answer him. I kept working. My fingers traced the wiring harness. Everything looked perfect from the outside. But I knew better. These cars hide their secrets well. I pulled out one of the sensor connectors. The owner laughed out loud. What are you doing? He asked. That's just a sensor. The diagnostic didn't show any sensor problems. I held the connector up to the light. The pins inside looked clean, but I saw something. A tiny bit of corrosion. Almost invisible, but enough to cause intermittent connection failures, enough to make a $3 million car refuse to start. But I didn't know that this moment would change everything for me. I didn't know these 90 seconds would give me back something I thought I lost forever. I reached deeper into the engine bay. The fuel injection sensor sat buried behind other components. My hands worked automatically. Disconnect here, release the pressure there. The sensor came free and I held it up. This is your problem, I said quietly. The owner stepped closer. His mocking smile faded slightly. That sensor? He asked. The computer said nothing about that sensor. The computer can't see intermittent failures, I explained. This sensor is failing when the engine gets hot. It works fine when cold. That's why diagnostics don't catch it. The mechanic grabbed the sensor from my hand. He examined it closely. His face changed from defensive to surprised. He pulled out a testing device and connected it. Numbers flashed across the small screen. He's right, the mechanic said slowly. The resistance is out of spec. It's borderline failing. The owner stared at me. The mockery was completely gone now. He looked confused and curious. How did you know that? He asked. I handed him the sensor back. I know Bugattis, I said simply. This model has a known issue with this specific sensor. Happens around 20,000 miles. The sensor overheats and fails intermittently. Maybe you've experienced moments when your expertise shines through despite everything life has thrown at you. The owner pulled out his phone. He dialed a number and stepped away slightly. I heard him talking to someone about parts, about sensors, about a specific part number. His voice had changed completely. No more mockery, no more jokes about the homeless man. I stood there waiting. The morning sun was getting stronger. Traffic rushed past us on the highway. People in their cars going to their jobs and their lives. Nobody looking at us, nobody caring that something important was happening here. The mechanic started packing his tools. He kept glancing at me with new respect in his eyes. Finally, he spoke. "Where'd you learn about Bugattis?" he asked. "Long time ago," I said. "Different life." He wanted to ask more questions. I saw it in his face, but something stopped him. Maybe he saw the pain in my eyes. Maybe he understood that some stories are too heavy to share with strangers on a highway. The owner came back. He put his phone away. "The part is in stock at Milano Auto Parts downtown," he said. "They're sending it over right now. Should be here in 15 minutes. He looked at me directly. "You were right about the part number. They confirmed it's a common failure point." I nodded but said nothing. Inside, I felt something stirring, something old and familiar. The feeling of being good at something, the feeling of knowing my skills still existed somewhere deep inside. But what I didn't know was that this man standing in front of me was about to offer something I thought I would never have again. We stood there in awkward silence. The mechanic kept stealing glances at me. The owner checked his watch repeatedly. I just waited. Waiting was something I had gotten very good at over the past 3 years. The owner finally broke the silence. "What's your name?" he asked. "Daniel," I said. "Daniel Morrison." "I'm Marcus Chen," he said. He extended his hand. I looked at my own hands. They were dirty from the engine and from life on the streets. I hesitated, but he kept his hand out. I shook it firmly. His grip was strong and genuine. "That was impressive," Marcus said. 90 seconds to diagnose what my mechanic couldn't figure out in an hour. "I got lucky," I said. "No," he said firmly. "That wasn't luck. That was knowledge. That was experience." A delivery van pulled up behind the Bugatti. A young man jumped out holding a small box. He brought it to Marcus, who signed for the package. Marcus handed the box to his mechanic. "Can you install it?" Marcus asked me. I took the box. Inside was the new fuel injection sensor, still sealed in factory packaging. I tore it open and pulled out the component. It felt right in my hands, like greeting an old friend. "Yeah," I said. "I can install it." I leaned back into the engine bay. My hands moved with confidence now. Remove the old sensor, clean the connection points, apply the proper torque to the new sensor, connect the wiring harness, check the connections. Everything flowed naturally. Those who have experienced such moments understand how muscle memory never truly disappears. The installation took maybe 10 minutes. I stepped back and wiped my hands on my torn pants. "Try it now," I said. Marcus climbed into the driver's seat. The mechanic and I stood by the open hood. Marcus turned the key. The massive engine roared to life immediately, 16 cylinders firing perfectly. The sound was beautiful and powerful. Marcus revved the engine a few times. It responded smoothly. No hesitation, no misfires. Perfect. He turned it off and got out with a huge smile on his face. "Unbelievable," he said. "It works perfectly." He pulled out his checkbook. I watched him write. His pen moved quickly across the paper. He tore out the check and handed it to me. $100,000, made out to Daniel Morrison, signed by Marcus Chen. I stared at the check. It felt unreal. More money than I had seen in 3 years, more money than I knew what to do with. My hands started shaking slightly. "Thank you," I managed to say. Marcus didn't move to leave. He stood there watching me. His expression had changed again. Now he looked curious and concerned. "Daniel," he said slowly, "can we talk for a minute?" I looked up from the check. Something in his voice made me nervous. About what?" I asked. "About you," he said. "About how a homeless man knows more about a Bugatti Chiron than a certified mechanic." Little did I know that this conversation would change everything. I shifted uncomfortably. This was the part I didn't want. The questions, the past, the explanations. I just wanted to take my money and disappear back to my bridge. "It's a long story," I said. "I've got time," Marcus said. He gestured to his car. "And I owe you more than just money. I owe you an apology for laughing at you." The mechanic had finished packing his tools. He loaded them into his van and drove away. Now it was just Marcus and me standing on the highway shoulder. "Look," I said, "I appreciate the money, but I should go." "Please," Marcus said. His voice was genuine. "Just a few minutes. I want to understand." I looked at him carefully. There was no mockery left in his face, no judgment, just honest curiosity. Something about that made me pause. "Fine," I said. "A few minutes." We sat on the concrete barrier beside the highway. Cars rushed past. The morning was getting warmer. I held the check carefully like it might disappear. "So how does this happen?" Marcus asked gently. "How does someone with your knowledge end up on the streets?" I took a deep breath. This was always the hardest part, putting it into words, making people understand. "I used to be an engineer," I said. "Lead engineer at Ferrari, worked there for 15 years. Marcus's eyes widened. "Ferrari?" he repeated. "You're telling me you worked at Ferrari?" "Yeah," I said. "Maranello facility in Italy. Then they sent me to their California location. I specialized in engine management systems, fuel injection, electronic controls." "That explains the knowledge," Marcus said. "That was a different life," I said quietly. 3 years ago, everything changed." I paused. This next part was always hard to say. The words caught in my throat. Marcus waited patiently. "My wife Sarah and my daughter Emma," I said. My voice cracked slightly. "They were in a car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. They both died instantly." Marcus's face changed immediately. The curiosity became sympathy. "I'm so sorry," he said quietly. "Emma was 7 years old," I continued. "She loved cars just like me. She would sit in my workshop and hand me tools. She wanted to be an engineer too." I stopped talking. The memories were too heavy. They crushed down on me like physical weight. Even after 3 years, the pain was fresh and raw. If you've ever lost someone you love deeply, you understand that some pain never really goes away. "After they died, I fell apart," I said. "Started drinking, stopped going to work. Ferrari tried to help. They gave me time off. They offered counseling, but I couldn't stop drinking. They eventually had to let me go," I said. "I understood. I wasn't functional anymore. I lost my apartment, lost my savings, lost everything." "And you ended up on the streets," Marcus said, softly. "Yeah," I said. 3 years ago. Been there ever since." We sat in silence for a moment. The traffic noise filled the space between us. I felt exposed and vulnerable. I hadn't told my story to anyone in months, maybe years. Marcus spoke carefully. "Daniel, what you did today proved something important," he said. "Your skills didn't disappear. Your knowledge didn't vanish. It's all still there." "Doesn't matter," I said. "Nobody's going to hire a homeless alcoholic." "I would," Marcus said. I turned to look at him directly. He met my eyes steadily. "What?" I asked. "I own a company called Tech Drive Industries," Marcus explained. "We manufacture automotive electronic systems, engine management computers, sensor arrays, everything high-end cars need." He pulled out a business card and handed it to me. "We're developing next-generation systems for electric and hybrid supercars," he continued. "We need people who understand both the mechanical and electronic sides, people like you." I stared at the business card. Marcus Chen, CEO and founder, Tech Drive Industries, an address in Silicon Valley, multiple phone numbers and email addresses. "You don't know me," I said. "You met me 20 minutes ago on a highway." "I know you diagnosed a complex problem in 90 seconds, Marcus said. "I know you installed that sensor perfectly. I know you have 15 years of experience at Ferrari." "I'm homeless," I said bluntly. "I sleep under bridges. I probably smell bad. I haven't had a real shower in weeks." But what Marcus said next would test everything I thought I knew about second chances. "I don't care about any of that," Marcus said firmly. "I care about skills. I care about knowledge. I care about potential." He stood up and faced me directly. "Here's what I'm offering," he said. "Come work for me. Lead engineer position. I'll cover housing for the first 3 months while you get back on your feet. I'll cover everything you need." I felt dizzy suddenly. This couldn't be real. These things didn't happen. Not to people like me, not to broken homeless men who lost everything. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you do this?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. His expression became distant and sad. Because 10 years ago I lost my daughter too, he said softly. Cancer. She was 9 years old. It almost destroyed me and my wife. He looked at me with understanding in his eyes. I know what that kind of loss does to a person, he said. I know how it breaks you. I was lucky. I had support. I had people who wouldn't let me fall. You didn't have that. But I see something in you, Daniel, he continued. I see someone who still cares enough to help a stranger on the highway, someone whose skills are still sharp despite 3 years of hell. That's worth investing in. I felt tears starting to form. I hadn't cried in years. I thought I was beyond tears. But something about this moment broke through my defenses. I don't know if I can, I said honestly. I don't know if I'm that person anymore. You just proved you are, Marcus said. That person is still in there. He just needs a chance. He extended his hand again. What do you say? He asked. Will you take the chance? I looked at his hand, then at the check still clutched in my other hand, then at the business card. My mind was racing. Part of me wanted to run, part of me wanted to hide, but another part, a part I thought was dead, was waking up. That part wanted to live again. I reached out and shook his hand. Okay, I said quietly. I'll try. Marcus smiled genuinely. That's all I'm asking, he said. Just try. He pulled out his phone. Give me a few minutes, he said. I'm going to make some calls. We're going to get you set up today. He walked a few steps away and started talking on his phone. I sat there holding the check and the business card. My whole body was shaking now, not from fear, from hope. That feeling I hadn't felt in 3 years. Maybe second chances were real after all. Maybe the person I used to be wasn't completely gone. Maybe there was still a path forward. I looked at the Bugatti sitting there running perfectly. I'd fixed that. Me, Daniel Morrison, the homeless man, the broken engineer. I'd fixed a $3 million car in minutes because the knowledge was still there. Marcus was right. The skills hadn't disappeared. They were just sleeping, waiting for a reason to wake up. And now maybe, just maybe, I had that reason. Marcus finished his call and walked back over. Okay, he said, here's what's happening. My assistant is booking you a hotel room for tonight. Clean place, quiet, safe. Tomorrow morning, a car will pick you up and bring you to my office. We'll get you proper clothes, he continued. We'll get you into our company health program. We'll handle everything. I couldn't speak. The words wouldn't come. This was too much, too fast, too good to be true. And Daniel, Marcus said, cash that check today. Buy yourself a good meal. Buy whatever you need. That money is yours. You earned it. He climbed into his Bugatti. The engine purred smoothly. He rolled down the window. Thank you, Daniel, he said. You saved my day. Now let me try to save yours. He drove away slowly. I watched the car disappear into traffic. I sat there alone on the highway shoulder, holding a check for $100,000 and a business card that might lead to a new life. The sun was fully up now. It was going to be a hot day. But I felt different. The weight that had pressed down on me for 3 years felt slightly lighter. Not gone. It would never be completely gone. Sarah and Emma would always be with me. But maybe I could carry that weight and still move forward. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak but steady. I looked at the business card one more time. Tech Drive Industries, my potential future, my possible redemption. I started walking toward downtown. I had a check to cash, a hotel room waiting, and tomorrow, a second chance. For the era, first time in 3 years, I wanted to see what tomorrow would bring. I walked into downtown with the check folded carefully in my pocket. The streets were busy with morning traffic and people rushing to work. I kept my head down like always. Old habits die hard. The bank was intimidating. Tall glass doors and polished marble floors. Security guards watched everyone who entered. I hesitated outside for a moment. People in suits walked past me looking annoyed. One woman pulled her purse closer when she saw me. I pushed through the doors. The air conditioning hit me immediately. It felt strange after years of sleeping outside. A woman at the information desk looked up, and her smile faded when she saw my torn clothes. "Can I help you?" she asked. Her voice was polite but cold. I pulled out the check. I need to cash this, I said. She took the check and her eyes widened when she saw the amount. $100,000. She looked at me suspiciously. Where did you get this? She asked. I earned it, I said firmly. She studied the check carefully. Then she made a phone call. A manager came over. He was a middle-aged man in an expensive suit. He examined the check and looked at me with doubt in his eyes. This is a substantial amount, he said. We'll need to verify the funds. Fine, I said. Verify it. He made another call. I stood there waiting while other customers stared at me. I knew what they were thinking. Homeless man with a huge check. Must be fraud. Must be stolen. But what they didn't know was that this check represented something more valuable than money. After 10 minutes, the manager came back. His attitude had changed completely. Mr. Morrison, he said respectfully, the check is valid. Mr. Chen confirmed everything. How would you like to proceed? I need some cash today, I said. The rest can stay in an account. Of course, he said. Let me set that up for you. 20 minutes later, I walked out with $2,000 in cash and a new bank account. The rest of the money sat safely in savings. It felt surreal. 3 years ago, I had money and lost it all. Now, here I was starting over. I found a clothing store first. The staff looked uncomfortable when I entered, but I had cash now. I bought jeans, shirts, underwear, socks, and a decent jacket. Basic stuff, but clean and new. I bought toiletries next: soap, shampoo, razor, toothbrush. Then I found a barber shop. The barber was an older man who didn't judge me. He cut my hair and trimmed my beard. When he finished, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. The face looking back was cleaner, but the eyes were still haunted. I checked into the hotel Marcus had arranged. The room was simple but clean. A real bed with fresh sheets. A bathroom with hot water. I stood under the shower for 30 minutes, letting the water wash away 3 years of street dirt. The water ran gray, then brown, then finally clear. I put on my new clothes and looked in the mirror again. I looked almost normal, almost like the person I used to be. But I knew the truth. The outside could change quickly. The inside took longer. That night I lay in the bed staring at the ceiling. The room was too quiet, too comfortable. I was used to the sounds of the highway overhead, the voices of other homeless people nearby, the constant alertness required to stay safe on the streets. Here in this quiet hotel room, my thoughts were too loud. Sarah's laugh, Emma's voice calling me daddy. The memories I usually kept buried came flooding back. This was the danger of comfort. It gave you space to feel things you had been running from. I didn't sleep much. When morning came, I was exhausted but ready. A car picked me up at 8 like Marcus had promised. The driver was professional and polite. He didn't ask questions about my past. Tech Drive Industries was located in a modern building with glass walls and steel frames. Inside was all open workspace and high-tech equipment. Engineers sat at computer stations working on circuit boards and software. Everything was clean and organized and purposeful. Marcus met me in the lobby. He smiled genuinely when he saw me. "Daniel," he said, "you clean up well." "Thanks for everything," I said. "The hotel, the arrangements." "That's just the beginning," Marcus said. "Come on, let me show you around." He led me through the building, explaining what each department did. Manufacturing on the first floor, design and engineering on the second, testing labs on the third. Everyone we passed looked at me curiously, but Marcus introduced me with confidence. "This is Daniel Morrison," he said to his team. "He's joining us as a lead engineer. He brings 15 years of experience from Ferrari." Little did they know that less than 24 hours ago, I was sleeping under a bridge. Marcus brought me to a conference room. 3 other engineers were already there. A young woman named Lisa, an older man named Robert, and a guy about my age named Kevin. They all looked professional and educated and successful. "Daniel's going to help us with the hybrid supercar project," Marcus explained. "We're developing the engine management system for a new client, high-performance hybrid with over 1,000 horsepower. He pulled up schematics on the screen. I studied them carefully. The design was ambitious. Twin-turbo V8 combined with 3 electric motors, complex fuel injection system, advanced cooling requirements. "What do you think?" Marcus asked me. Everyone in the room was watching me. I could feel their skepticism. They didn't know my background. They just saw someone their boss picked up yesterday. I understood their doubt. I pointed at the fuel injection map on the screen. This timing is going to cause detonation under boost, I said. The injectors are firing too early. You need to delay by about 3 degrees and increase the fuel pressure. Robert leaned forward. We tested that configuration, he said. It ran rich and lost power. Because your air-fuel ratio was wrong, I explained. You're using a standard calculation, but this hybrid system has different thermal dynamics. The electric motors generate heat that affects the intake temperature. I walked to the whiteboard and started drawing. Diagrams of the engine layout, thermal flow patterns, injection timing curves. My hand moved automatically. This was the language I spoke fluently. This was what I knew. The room got quiet. Everyone watched me work through the problem. I filled the whiteboard with calculations and diagrams. When I finished, I stepped back. Try these settings, I said. Adjust the injection timing here and modify the boost curve here. It should solve both problems. Lisa was typing everything into her computer. Kevin was taking photos of the whiteboard. Robert just stared at the diagrams with a look of realization on his face. That might actually work, Robert said slowly. We never considered the thermal interaction with the electric motors. Those who have experienced such moments know how validation feels after years of doubt. Marcus smiled at me. Welcome to the team, Daniel, he said. The meeting continued for another hour. We discussed other technical challenges with the project. I contributed where I could and listened when I didn't know something. The team's skepticism gradually shifted to acceptance. They saw that I knew what I was talking about. After the meeting, Marcus walked me to my new office. It was small but private with a window overlooking the parking lot, a desk with a computer, a whiteboard on the wall, engineering reference books on a shelf. This is yours, Marcus said. Get settled in. Lisa will get you set up with all the computer access and documentation you need. He paused at the door. How are you doing? He asked. Really? Honestly? I said. I'm terrified. I haven't done this in 3 years. What if I fail? You won't, Marcus said confidently. I saw what you did yesterday. I saw what you did in that meeting just now. You're exactly where you belong. He left me alone in the office. I sat at the desk and turned on the computer. The login screen appeared. My name was already in the system. Daniel Morrison, lead engineer, Tech Drive Industries. I thought about Sarah and Emma. I thought about how proud they would be if they could see me now. Emma always wanted to visit my workplace. She never got the chance. But maybe in some way, she was here with me now. The next few weeks passed in a blur. I worked on the hybrid supercar project. I solved technical problems. I collaborated with the team. Slowly, I started remembering who I used to be, the engineer who loved his work, the problem solver who never gave up. But what I was learning was that rebuilding a life takes more than just a job. Marcus helped me find an apartment, a small one-bedroom place near the office. I furnished it simply. Nothing fancy, just the basics. But it was mine. My space, my fresh start. I still struggled sometimes. Late at night when the apartment was quiet, the grief would come back, the memories of what I lost. Some nights I wanted to drink, wanted to numb the pain, but I didn't. I called Marcus instead. He always answered. Talk to me, he would say, and I would talk until the urge passed. He understood. He had been there too. Different circumstances, but the same kind of loss, the same kind of pain. That understanding made all the difference. 3 months after that day on Highway 101, our team finished the engine management system. We tested it on the prototype car. Everything worked perfectly. The engine delivered over 1,000 horsepower smoothly. The hybrid system integrated flawlessly. The client was ecstatic. Marcus called me into his office. The client loved it, he said. They want to order systems for their entire production run. This is huge for us. That's great, I said. It's because of you, Daniel, Marcus said. Your insights made the difference. Your experience solved problems we couldn't crack. He handed me an envelope. Performance bonus, he said. You earned it. I opened it. A check for $50,000. I stared at it in disbelief. This is too much, I said. It's exactly right, Marcus said. You're a valuable part of this team. This is just the beginning. I felt tears forming again, happy tears this time, the kind I thought I would never feel again. 3 months ago, I was homeless. Now I was rebuilding a life, contributing something meaningful, being the person I thought was dead. Thank you, Marcus, I said. My voice broke slightly. You saved my life. No, he said gently. I just gave you a chance. You saved yourself. Looking back now, I realize that day on Highway 101 changed both of us. 6 months after starting at Tech Drive, Marcus asked me to speak at a company event, a charity fundraiser for homeless services. He wanted me to share my story. I was terrified, but I agreed. I stood on stage in front of 200 people, engineers and business people and community leaders. I told them everything about Ferrari, about Sarah and Emma, about losing everything, about living under bridges, about the day I fixed a Bugatti and met Marcus. The room was silent. People had tears in their eyes. When I finished speaking, the applause was thunderous. Several people came up afterwards to thank me, to tell me I inspired them. One young engineer approached me nervously. I've been struggling with depression, he said quietly. Your story gives me hope. Thank you for being honest. That night I realized something important. My pain wasn't meaningless. My struggle wasn't wasted. By sharing my story, I could help others who were struggling. I could show them that recovery was possible, that second chances were real. This story reminds us that we should never judge people by their appearance or current circumstances. Everyone has a story. Everyone has skills and knowledge and value. We just need to look past the surface to see it. The homeless man on the corner might be a former engineer. The person struggling with addiction might be fighting battles we can't imagine. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves a chance. Marcus took a chance on me when nobody else would. He saw past the torn clothes and the street dirt. He saw the person underneath. That act of compassion changed my life completely. I still think about Sarah and Emma every day. The pain of losing them will never completely disappear. But I've learned to carry that pain while still moving forward. They would want me to live. They would want me to use my gifts. They would want me to help others. Today, I run the engineering department at Tech Drive. Marcus promoted me last year. I mentor young engineers and help develop cutting-edge automotive technology. I volunteer at homeless shelters on weekends. I share my story whenever I can. I learned that falling down doesn't define you. Staying down doesn't have to be permanent. With help and hope and hard work, you can rebuild. You can recover. You can find purpose again. What lesson did you gain from this story? Have you ever judged someone by their appearance and missed seeing their true value? Have you ever felt broken beyond repair? Remember that every person you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about. Offer kindness. Offer chances. You never know when your compassion might save a life. Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.